Hey guys, so I've been really sick, which is why I wasn't able to get a video out this past week, and it's still not completely gone. But the good news is I was able to get a lot of manga reading done, most notably Big Order, which was probably a bad idea because it may have actually made my influenza worse. I don't want to give away my thoughts before the review, but just imagine the worst thing you've ever experienced: taking a huge shit and then smearing it in your face. So I really needed something to balance this out, and I decided, you know what, it's been a while, let's reread Vinland Saga. Because thinking back on it, I haven't really made the Vinland Saga video in like over 2 years or something now. And after rereading it all the way up to the newest chapters, I really think it deserves a new one. The goal of this video will to hopefully get some more people interested in reading Vinland Saga. And I want to discuss a few things about the series that I don't really see discussed very often. So because of that, this will be a spoiler-free video. If you want to talk about some of the later things that happen in this series, you just post a spoiler tag, press enter a bunch, and then we're good. So for those who don't know, Vinland Saga is a dramatized, loose adaptation of, well, the Vinland Sagas. It takes place in Europe and Scandinavia during the Viking era, which was roughly 1,000 years ago. The story follows Thorfinn, a man from Iceland who at a very young age witnessed his father's murder. Now, Vinland Saga starts here, and it is the story of Thorfinn's life as he grows older and develops as a character. It starts off with him being a warrior from a very young age, someone who was always angry, someone who was always looking for a fight. But as the story progresses and things continue to happen, we see a dramatic change in who Thorfinn is. After the excellent prologue, Thorfinn realizes that in order to have any meaning, he has to take it upon himself to become a better person. So in a way, Vinland Saga is Thorfinn's redemption story, as he tries to separate himself from his dark past and change the world for the better. Now when you watch videos about Vinland Saga, and I'm sure there are plenty at this point, this is what people always bring up: Thorfinn's character development. It's some of the best you will ever see. And I certainly agree. It really is unlike anything I have ever read. But of course, it wouldn't be near as good without some of Thorfinn's character dynamics with people like Askeladd, who's probably my favorite character in any manga ever, and characters like Einar, who have a huge influence on Thorfinn's change later in life. And the series continues to stay fresh even in the newer chapters, because even though Thorfinn has undergone this huge change trying to be a better person, it doesn't erase the past. It doesn't erase the horrible sins that he committed, and now while he's trying to change the world for the better, those things are creeping up on him and biting him in the ass. And that's what's still keeping this series so intriguing and so suspenseful. All of this amounts to just an excellent series, an excellent story with excellent characters, and of course all comes together to make my favorite series of all time. But of course, y'all already knew that. While reading Vinland Saga this time, I became a little bit more interested in the actual history behind it. And after doing a bit of research into the events that happened during Europe in this time period, I came away liking this series even more. Because for those who didn't know, most of the characters in Vinland Saga are based on actual historical figures. And many of the events that happen in Vinland Saga, you know, the state of the royalty, a lot of the battles that happened, actually did happen. This is one thing that people don't often consider about storytelling, and that's that you have to do a lot of research, especially if you're doing a historical manga like Vinland Saga. Yukimura must have spent months doing research for this series, because it's not only the characters and the events that take place, but it's everything about the world during this time period. The Vikings, how they behave, some of their traditions, what they believe. It's all very fascinating stuff, and he implements real-world history very well. But of course, as I said, it's dramatized. This isn't exactly how it happened. Many of the characters are most likely completely different from their historical counterparts, and you know, there are a few things that he had to change up to tell a more compelling story. But what works so well about using this particular time period is that not everything is set in stone, because you know, this stuff happened 1,000 years ago. We obviously don't have all that many details about how things went down. So this way Yukimura can exercise a ton of creative freedom while at the same time not actually contradicting history, which I think is so fascinating. For example, history might say this character is to die in the year 1015, but we don't actually know how he died. So Yukimura can create this genius scenario to kill off a character, and it still matches with history. It's awesome. The one thing I will say though, and if you are interested, I'd proceed with caution. If you look into the real events behind Vinland Saga, you may actually end up spoiling future events for yourself. That's the one thing I regret. I may actually have a good idea of how it's going to end now. So I want to briefly touch on the art, which is fucking beautiful. It really speaks for itself. This is absolutely incredible artwork, and it has stayed consistently good for the past 12 years. It wasn't as detailed when it first started because it was a weekly series, and that sort of schedule didn't really prove to work very well for this series, so they decided to move Vinland Saga into a monthly serialization, and oh my god, was that a good choice. It's shockingly good, it really is. The only downside, of course, is that releases are slow. I'll give Yukimura this. He's not a pussy. Like, he hasn't gone on any long hiatuses at all like we see a lot of other mangaka. Nearly every month he is consistently pumping out a quality chapter. The annoying thing though is that Vinland Saga chapters are not the typical length of a monthly chapter. Honestly, we'd be lucky to get a 30-page chapter at the end of each month. Oftentimes we don't. So because of this, it can be a bit of a pain in the ass to wait, but I really think that's just a testament to how good this series is. I mean, if you eat up a new chapter in a couple minutes and instantly want to read the next one, that's a sign that you're doing something right. One thing I want to talk about is the whole anime situation. A lot of people really want the Vinland Saga anime. I mean, it's been out for 12 years and we don't have any kind of adaptation. And the series definitely is popular. I mean, it's not super popular, but you know, it's been running for 12 years. But here's the thing for me. I don't know if I really want a Vinland Saga anime, to be honest. I mean, it would be great exposure for the series, don't get me wrong. But I also question if whether or not they'd be able to give it a good adaptation. Because the art is so good that in order to replicate the style in an anime without, you know, it costing a fortune, you'd probably need to go the CG route. Yeah, so that's probably not the ideal situation, and also you'd really need a movie budget to replicate Vinland Saga into anime form. And honestly, it would be pretty silly seeing all these Norse names pronounced in a Japanese accent. So get rid of all that weeb shit. Here's what we need. We need HBO to pick up Vinland Saga. Come on now, okay? Game of Thrones is about to end. You know, what are they gonna use? They gonna use Westworld? Nah, fuck that shit. Give it a massive budget, go over to Scandinavia, film that shit. This, in my opinion, is the only proper way to adapt Vinland Saga. It will 100% never happen, but I guess we can dream. Anyway, so that's it for my discussion on Vinland Saga. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you guys soon for my review of Big Order. Fuck me.